What's up, everybody? This is Chris Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of all of your vehicles. On today's show, we're going to talk about some more dire situations for some automakers, specifically Nissan, as it cuts jobs. We're also going to dive into the situation when it comes to Trump being the new president and how the auto industry is still feeling about it and what they expect to happen. And last but not least, we're going to go into an in-depth look at Toyota and all the recent problems they're having when it comes to recalls and a massive engine replacement. All right, so starting off, we're going to start the show actually. Let's start the show talking about Donald Trump and his second presidency and how it will affect the auto industry. We know that he has big plans for tariffs and all these type of situations when it comes to China and overseas automakers to try to rebuild the U.S. automakers and try to make them the automakers that they were back in the past. So, of course, lots of people have put in their 2 cents on how the auto industry is going to be affected by Trump. So let's check out what I think this is Fox News is talking about.
Now, as you know, the UAW endorsed his opponent and President-elect Trump's biggest backer, one of them certainly, the owner of Tesla. So safe to say things could get rather complicated between the president-elect and the auto industry.
Obviously, lots of folks talking about that in Michigan. Victor Williams has been reaching out to the automakers. Victor, you also spoke with a business expert who says we should definitely expect change.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Karen and Devin. Changes are definitely expected to be on the way, but some of those changes, we're told, could even benefit the auto industry.
I think that you will see a massive shift in policy and emphasis that will affect directly manufacturing and the auto industry in particular.
WSU business professor Merrick Masters weighing in on where the future of the auto industry may be heading now that President Trump is on his way back into office.
It's pretty clear where he's going to go. He's going to focus on energy, natural gas, and he's going to focus on reduced regulation, particularly in the area of auto emissions as affects the auto industry.
For the auto workers who have been so incredible, you've been so incredible, you're going to be very happy with the things we're doing.
He realizes that he owes a lot to working class Americans across gender and race who contributed to his election.
Professor Masters believes Trump's reposition of power will now change the landscape of EVs overall.
Hi, everyone.
Yet with Elon Musk also becoming closer to Trump, many are wondering if the relationship will have any impact on future policies.
Well, I think that's an important question, and I think that he will have Musk will have the president's ear when it comes to establishing policies that will promote the production of EVs in the United States. And I think he will listen carefully to that.
And we'll have to see what effect these potential changes will have on the buyers. But we did hear back from Stellantis and Ford. Both are saying that they are looking forward to working with the future president. Victor Williams, Local 4.
All right. Thank you, Victor.
All right. So, thank you, Victor. So, and of course, with the Trump coming into the presidential seat pretty soon, not in the seat yet, he's just president-elect now. We've seen massive changes, situations when it comes to stocks and Tesla stocks and stuff like that. But the question is really going to be if he is going to maintain his stance on the tariffs when it comes to China and all of the overseas parts and stuff like that, because the biggest thing is that like they were saying, he has a great relationship with Elon Musk. And Elon Musk gets a lot of his parts and products from China. I think one of his biggest plants for Tesla is over in China. So how is that going to wiggle itself out when it comes to all the tariffs that Trump is talking about, all of the resistance he has to parts coming in from China, when one of his biggest backers and the person that probably he plans to probably give a position in his cabinet has a big, a big to do about, getting stuff from China. Tesla's main part center, I think, is in China. It's probably the biggest factory in China, I think, if they were saying one time I was reading a story along that lines. But that's going to be key. I mean, is he going to put up a big wall when it comes to getting parts from China? And if he does, that's got to affect Elon Musk. So, and Elon Musk being in his ear, he has to have, to some degree, telling him, that it's going to hurt him to some degree. So you expect that to be a statement that they have or a conversation that they have, because all of these tariffs that he puts up, to slow the process of EV vehicles coming in from China and Europe and all these other places, is going to affect Elon Musk tremendously. So there's going to be a lot of stickiness when it comes to that. I can understand. But we can always we always have to have a wait and see, mindset when it comes to this. He said a lot of things. He said a lot of great things when it comes to automotive industry. So we just have to hope and pray that he sticks to what he said, sticks to the ideas that he put forth, because those ideas and situations that he was stating would help the American automotive industry a heck of a whole lot. So let us keep going. So some bad news on the front. More layoffs. Nissan just announced that it is laying off 9,000 jobs and restructuring a lot. Let's check that out.
In a shocking announcement, Japanese carmaker Nissan has announced to cut 9,000 jobs and reduce manufacturing capacity by 20% after seeing a steep 94% decline in net income for the first half of the fiscal year. In addition to this, Nissan plans to sell off a part of its stake in Mitsubishi Motors after burning through $2.9 billion in cash over 6 months. The company's shares tumbled nearly 10% in early Friday trading in Tokyo, reaching their lowest point since October 2020. The automaker has announced sweeping cuts to its workforce, production levels, and financial forecasts as the company grapples with intensifying industry challenges and internal weaknesses. These financial woes come with personal costs for Nissan CEO Makoto Uchida, who will forfeit half of his compensation. Uchida acknowledged the dual challenges of external market pressures and internal missteps, such as ambitious sales targets set by Nissan.
So you see how he is going to forfeit half of his compensation. You think that any American automaker would do that, would be willing to do that? And I think that it's more about when you see these type of things where the CEOs and the presidents, they give up their compensation. I would believe that it's more forced than it is their idea. Specifically because most of these companies are, specifically Japanese and Chinese companies, the government has a decent foothold in the company and a decent amount of control. So when the government step in and say, hey, this ain't working out, you need to do something about this, that's when, specifically for Japanese, these CEOs will jump on their sword, as it were, and give up compensation to alleviate some of the problems, because they could have bigger problems down the line if they don't. Let's keep going.
Amid surging competition from Chinese automakers, Uchida, who took the helm in 2019 following the departure of former chairman Carlos Ghosn, has struggled to stabilize Nissan while facing competition from rivals like Tesla and China's BYD. Nissan has revised its operating income projection down to 150 billion yen for the fiscal year ending in March, a 70% reduction from earlier forecasts. Revenue expectations have also been slashed by 9%, signaling minimal growth ahead. For the current fiscal year, Nissan expects to produce around 3.2 million vehicles, down 7% from last year, and has also reduced its retail sales outlook to 3.4 million vehicles, with forecast cuts across major markets including North America, China, Japan, and Europe. Yoshita's vision includes expanding Nissan's electric vehicle lineup and forming new partnerships, with a goal of selling an additional 1 million cars annually by 2027. But analysts argue that Nissan lacks enough hybrid models to meet current consumer demand, which is shifting away from EVs.
That's so true. I've seen a lot of that lately. Specifically, even for me, I had to purchase a couple vehicles. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But I think that the hybrid market is a lot better than the EV market. I think hybrid vehicles are a lot better. I think I think there should have been a bigger focus on a transformation from a gas vehicle to a hybrid vehicle. I think that would have been a lot easier for most consumers. I think that the jump from a gas vehicle to an EV vehicle is the hard jump. And on top of that, EV vehicles aren't in a position to be a person's consistent driver really as of yet, specifically because of the mileage ranges that they have, the inconsistencies when it comes to charging, to the point where some people can't have to sit at chargers, outside charging for several hours just to get their vehicles charged. So I think that we should have prioritized a move from gas-powered vehicles to hybrid vehicles before we prioritized a move from gas-powered vehicles to EV vehicles.
Earlier, Nissan's financial performance in the first half of this fiscal year was greatly impacted not only by external challenges but also by our specific issues. Net revenue was flat at 5.984 trillion yen. Operating profit fell by 90% year-over-year to 32.9 billion yen. Another big challenge is our inability to deliver the right products that cater to the customer's needs in a timely manner. Clear are well received in the markets. This demonstrates that our products are more competitive. However, changes in the markets are getting faster and greater. We have to work harder to address the challenges. These are the actions to address our product portfolio to maximize the market opportunities. Accelerated introductions of new energy vehicles in China, plug-in hybrid and e-power equipped vehicles in the United States. The question is how to do it fast and adapt to the reality. That's a key. It's imminent. And in the future, there are a lot of uncertainties. In these uncertainties, we need to bring Nissan back on the growth track. That's the immediate challenge of mine. This is my primary mission for now. I take the situation very...
All right, so very serious situation coming out of Nissan. A lot of job loss, and I mean it's par for the course. We've been talking about this for months, and I think that sadly Nissan is in a better state than Stellantis and the Chryslers, Dodge, Jeeps of the world. They have backing. They have people who will cut their pay. The president's cutting his compensation to pretty much compensate. They have a rough idea on how they're going to handle the situation, but they already understand that for it to work, they're still going to have to lose jobs, and people are going to lose their jobs. So a lot of people are going to be upended, and that's the horrible thing about all of this. It's always a situation where, these companies pride themselves on great sales, and they've had great sales for a long time. But the future is uncertain, and what we've seen when it comes to automotive industry is that there's been a massive shift. There's been a massive shift on what vehicles people are driving, their ideas on how much they want to spend on vehicles, and the automotive industry just hasn't kept up. It's always, just like inflation as it were, it always, created vehicles that are expensive, that are not to the liking of the consumer, like they said in the article. And they're starting to be stuck with these vehicles. They're starting to have dealerships that have hundreds of thousands of vehicles that they can't sell and that nobody wants. So that's what a lot of these automakers are falling into. And what's worse is that they're dealing with automakers that are concentrators, as it were, like Teslas and other small automakers, BYDs. These automakers are concentrators, meaning that they only have 3 or 4 vehicle models that they can concentrate on, and they can concentrate their marketing, their sales, their research and development. They have the ability to spend less money and make a better product, whereas the Nissans, the Toyotas, the Fords, they have so many models, so many brands, from trucks to vans to cars, to the point where the research and development is lacking, the marketing is lacking, because when it comes to marketing, they have to concentrate on their marketing on vehicles that they think are going to sell. And there's so many other vehicles that they have sitting on their lots that are not getting the marketing, not getting the exposure that is needed to sell them. So they're just sitting there. And then what happens? You have to lower the price of them. You have to try to get rid of them when customers come in. It's just a horrible mess. It's just a horrible mess, and it just keeps getting worse. It's getting worse for American automakers. It's getting worse for Japanese automakers. It seems like the only automakers that are succeeding are Chinese automakers selling very inexpensive EV models. That's what it seems like. That's not true, of course. There's some models that are still making a profit, but the majority of the automakers at this time are not showing a profit, and that's pretty common in the auto industry, specifically if you're a startup. But they're still, when they're not making a profit, they're still taking away a lot of market share from other automakers. So, the Nissans, the Toyotas, the Fords, they are really suffering from a lack of an ability to sell off all of the brands that they have, or sell off the models that they have. Whereas, the Teslas, they only got to sell the Tesla or the Cybertruck. The Derek Bailey only got to sell certain models of his vehicles. BYD only got certain models of its vehicles on the roads. It's a simple situation where they have the companies that have not downgraded, but steadfast with just small numbers so their inventory could be small, are succeeding. They don't have to sell massive numbers to reach quota, because they don't have massive numbers of vehicles. They only have to sell a certain amount of Teslas and Cybertrucks, or Polestar only have to sell so many, or BYD. It's a situation where these bigger automakers are truly suffering in this new age of the vehicle sales. They are suffering badly. They've spread themselves way too thin. Their dealerships are falling left and right. People are just not selling cars. People are not buying cars. Majority of people are staying steadfast on the vehicles that they have, which is a very smart thing to do. And they're waiting. They're waiting for cars to break down before they're buying cars. They're waiting for their children to get out of high school to give them a car and buy another car. But they're not just buying cars to be buying cars like they were in the past. So let's keep going. So Toyota is in a lot of mess. Toyota is having a lot of problems, and it's new. This is a new thing. Toyota has been one of the predominant successful car dealerships, car automakers for a long time. They always said to have put out a good product. I cut my teeth at a Toyota dealership when I first moved out to California. That's where I got my best mentor. And, but I've never owned a Toyota until recently. We got 2 Toyotas in our family, a Highlander truck and a Prius. And, great cars. And of course, we did massive research. That's what I tell all my people to do. Just do massive research on the vehicles you're getting. But it turns out that Toyota's having a lot of problems with its vehicles. And mainstay is recalls. And I always tell you people that when it comes to vehicles, I don't suggest that people buy the year model vehicles. I don't suggest that people buy 2024 vehicles in 2024. I don't suggest people buy 2023 vehicles in 2023. I do that because of recalls. And what happens is that if you buy a car that's a 2024, you're probably one of the very few people that are buying that vehicle at this time, probably in your area. And what's going to happen is you are going to be the guinea pig. You are going to be the one who sees all the faults or failures that they didn't catch at the factory. You are going to be the one that's going to find out about all these new technologies and all the kinks and quirks that they have. And you're going to be the one back and forth to the dealer to get these repairs taken care of. So I always say that if you're going to buy a new car, buy a year older car. It can still be brand new, but it just be the year before, because that car has been on the road a year, and that allows for somebody else to be the guinea pig and for all the recalls about that vehicle to come abreast. Well, when it comes to Toyota, they have a particular recall, particularly bad recall, that is going to require them to replace the complete engine in the 2024 Toyota Tundra. I think it's 2024 Toyota Tundra. Let's check it out and find out. All right, and of course we're on our favorite source of information, automotive news. How Toyota is prepping service departments for Tundra engine replacement. This is by Richard Truitt, and it was from November 8th. Toyota and Lexus dealerships are facing a series of challenges when they begin replacing more than 100,000 engines in Tundra pickups and LX utility vehicles in December. 100,000 engines. With each engine replacement requiring 13 to 21 hours to complete, dealerships must manage workflow so service bays remain available for other warranty and customer work. They'll also have to ensure that they have the right loaner cars available. For example, a Corolla likely won't do for a customer who uses a Tundra for work. Now, I'm going to stop them right there. It's not going to happen, people. Most dealerships got rid of the loaner car system a long time ago. There is very, 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 very few dealerships. Very few dealerships that have loaner car availability. Now, I'm assuming that a lot of these places are going to turn vehicles, Tundras or trucks that they have on their lots into loaner vehicles to compensate for this situation. But majority of car dealerships in the world right now use Enterprise or Hertz or whatever other car rental place that they have available to them. Most places, and I tell them, most dealerships do not have loaner cars anymore. Let's continue. Because the engine replacements are complex, many stores will assign their most experienced technicians to handle the recall. But dealerships also must ensure the quality of repair and preventative maintenance work remains high. These and other issues are baked into a plan aimed at making one of the biggest and most expensive recalls in Toyota history run like a choreographed operation. Since July, when Toyota announced it would replace 102,292 V6 engines, the company has been consulting with its most experienced technicians and its Toyota and Lexus dealer councils on ways to handle the work without disrupting the service department or inconveniencing customers. The company has been testing ways to streamline the engine replacement process. We spent a lot of time in different trials internally in our own facilities, plus we used a couple of targeted dealers close to us in Plano to get their feedback on some ideas. Kent Rice, Toyota Group Vice President of Quality. The manufacturer's approach has been try and reduce complexity for our technicians, Rice said. We've spent a lot of time consulting with different groups, including dealer councils, and they have been really helpful in their feedback. If the plan works as envisioned, Toyota will not only will replace the engines officially, but also get some benefits from the safety recall, which the automaker estimates costing between $300 million and $500 million, such as building skills and junior technicians. What caused the recall? In 2022 and 2023, Tundra pickup and Lexus LX SUV models with the V35A twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 engine, internal passages in either block or cylinder heads were not cleaned properly. This is all because these fools can't clean. Small chips of metal called swarf, a result of machining process, remain inside the engine after assembly. The swarfs can break loose and contaminate the oil which circulates throughout the engine. This can cause several internal damage because the swarf ruins crankshaft bearings, possibly causing the engine to seize, a safety risk if the vehicle stalls in traffic. Nearly 1,000 engines made in 2 Toyota plants failed because of machining debris and the oil. Damn. Rather than have store technicians that remove engines, disassemble, clean, and install them, a labor-intensive, time-consuming process requiring equipment service departments likely would not have, Toyota will replace the engines with new ones. The company will not say specifically how much each engine replacement costs, but based on what Toyota budgeted for safety recall, the cost per vehicle is expected to be about $3,000 to $5,000. That sounds probably about right. The faulty engines were produced in 2 Toyota plants, one in Japan and one in Alabama. Toyota won't say what caused the swarf to remain in the engines, but it could be the result of a change in the manufacturer cleaning process, new machinery, or defective tooling, not human error. Okay, we're just going to accept that. Refining the exchange process. Toyota technicians learn on the line how to carry out specific repairs of what the company refers to as E-modules for this recall. Toyota has designed a few specific tips for the engine replacement program and created new modules. For instance, many standard engine replacements include just the long block, which consists of the crankcase, cylinder heads, and a few ancillary parts. Technicians then transfer from the old engine such parts as the intake and exhaust manifolds, flywheel, water pump, and other bolt-on external components, but that's not how it'll go with this replacement. Toyota is supplying nearly complete engine assemblies, including turbochargers, pulleys, tensioners, and other components to save time. That's pretty cool. The company envisions engine replacements to be a job one technician can handle, Rice said, but each store operates differently. Some dealerships might, for safety reasons, assign 2 technicians for the parts of the recall that require brute strength or deal with large components. The replacement engine weighs about 400 pounds. To get the engine out, technicians will have to remove the vehicle's hood to gain access to the engine bay. They would then drain fluids, disconnect ancillary parts, blah, blah. I ain't going through all that. Dealerships prepared. Rice said Toyota plans to notify customers in either late November or early December that they can begin scheduling engine replacements. The program will be launched officially in December. Several stores contacted by Automotive said they had not yet received their new engine hoist. Yeah, you got to send them out a new hoist. It's not going to work. Although the recall is a huge campaign, dealerships said they are impressed with Toyota's preparation and don't expect to be overrun with engine replacement appointments. Steve Gates, owner of Gates Auto Family, a 13-store group that has 3 Toyota dealerships and 1 Lexus dealership in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, believes service department scheduling likely won't be impacted by the recall. About 100 technicians work at the 4 stores, and roughly 1/3 will handle engine replacements, he said. We have 4 stores. If we had 50 consumers that came in all at once for the recall, it will be a little challenging, Gates told Automotive News. The dealers I have talked to are saying their customers are telling them they are not going to do this right away because they are not experiencing any problems. It's probably only a small percentage of the 100,000 engines that will have any problems, he added. There's some curiosity, but no panic. Most dealerships will not stock replacement engines. Instead, when the customer books an appointment for a replacement, the store will order the new engine from Toyota and then schedule the repairs so the technician can work on the vehicle from start to finish. Even though Toyota is paying for loaner cars, at some stores there may be shortages of vehicles. Gates did not keep pickups in his store loaner fleet, like I said, but said he'll move some in from his new vehicle inventory to give customers what they need while their vehicles are in shop. Exactly what like I said. They don't have those kind of vehicles in the loaners, and that most places don't have loaners at all. Gates sees opportunities in the recall for his younger technicians to get experience with engine replacement earlier in their careers than they would normally. We'll take a man or a woman who is primarily doing light maintenance, offer them an opportunity to work with a master tech, he said. It's a great opportunity. Yeah. Gates thinks that some technicians will become so proficient at engine changes that they will be the go-to techs for the job at their stores. He said this recall reminds him of Toyota's Tacoma Rusty frame replacement safety campaign that saw the company spend around $3 billion to replace frames that rusted prematurely or buy back vehicles not worth fixing. Some technicians, he said, became frame replacement specialists. We end up with techs that could do it so fast that they want to come in early or stay late and then want to work weekends. We have one tech that designed his own special tools, and he could knock out that job like crazy. I'm certain we will see the same thing with the engine recall. Maybe, maybe not. All right, so it's crazy. Swarfs in the engines has caused the engines to break down. Now, they said they have 1,000 engines that broke down, but they have 100,000 recalls or engines that they're going to recall. It's crazy numbers. And the big thing is that, let's face it, the majority of these people are not having problems, which is a fantastic thing for them. So they can just ride around in their Toyota Tundra, either until they have a problem or when they have an urge not to have a vehicle for a couple of days and get the engine replaced. And it's going to be an interesting situation. But we bring this up because there has been a big statement on the quality of Toyota going down. Toyota has been arguably one of the top tier automakers in the industry for quite some time. People have stated boldly that Toyota is the best product on the road. It has the longest longevity. It has probably the greatest sales, as it were, come to trucks and stuff like that. So, but they have seen a massive decline. So we're going to check out a quick story, not technically quick, it's a pretty long story, but we're going to check out a quick story, and they're going to talk about the downfall of Toyota and all of the situations that they're dealing with when it comes to recalls and other things just like that. Let's check it out.
Once upon a time, Toyotas were the most reliable cars on the road. Whether you were driving your work truck 1,000,000 miles or you were staging a coup, Toyota was the go-to. But lately, Toyotas have been in the news for all the wrong reasons. Engine failures in the Tundra and GR86, transmission and axle failures in the Tacoma, inexplicable engine fires in the GR Corolla, and even brake problems for the humble Corolla Cross. So, what changed? Is there something bad in the water at Toyota these days? Or is it all being blown out of proportion by people looking for clicks and attention? Today, we're going to explain exactly what's going on with Toyota's reliability. To start off, I should point out that the number of recalls, or even the number of vehicles recalled, is not a truly accurate gauge for reliability. For example, Toyota had to recall 30,000 vehicles this summer for the catastrophic, life-threatening issue of a misprinted sticker on the door sill listing the wrong load-carrying capacity. True NHTSA recalls span everything from these tiny technicalities to wheels falling off to full-on engine failures. Then there are technical service bulletins, or TSBs, which are kind of like an internal soft recall by automakers. They're issued to dealers when a car company sees a non-safety critical problem bubbling up and they contain specific instructions for fixing it. Thing is, automakers and dealers don't announce TSBs. They're required by law to make them public on the NHTSA's website, but they're going to wait until you come into the dealer with that specific issue to address it. The fix is often free, but not always. Finally, I'm going to try and separate the question of reliability with another very public issue Toyota has faced, and that's how both it and its dealers have responded to some warranty claims. Take the GR86, which has a problem with oil starvation causing engine failures. I'll explain that in a bit. The point here is that Toyota has sold 9,643 GR86s this year, which is about 0.7% of its total sales. But because it's repeatedly denied warranty claims for new engines by blaming owners for driving their sports cars too hard, that's become an outsized public battle. One that we ourselves have covered, because come on, really guys? Okay, got all that? Now we can get into it. In May of this year, Toyota issued a recall for 102,000 Tundra pickups and Lexus LX SUVs, which swapped a tried-and-true V8 engine for a twin-turbo V6 when the new generation models launched in 2022. After over 800 warranty claims involving total engine failure, Toyota realized that machining issues at the factory left behind metal debris that was getting stuck in critical places like oil passages and bearings. Since the only possible fix involved taking the entire thing apart, Toyota now has to give over 100,000 people brand new engines. You have to admit, this one is pretty embarrassing for Toyota, since the previous Tundra's naturally aspirated, dead simple 5.7 liter V8 was famous for going a million miles. And there was a lot of skepticism about Toyota going with a smaller and more complicated engine in the new one. Toyota even bought back a million-mile 2007 Tundra and did a full teardown on the engine, later claiming it applied what worked to developing the new V6. I guess they must have put their findings in 2 books and gotten them mixed up. You know, what to do and what not to do. Anyway, Ford actually had a similar recall on their new turbo V6s in a number of vehicles, including the F-150 and the Bronco. It was forced to replace over 90,000 2.7 and 3 liter EcoBoost engines. But still, recalls aren't an area where you want to be compared with Ford. Now, commonly, the least reliable of any vehicle is the first model year of a completely redesigned new generation. So while these engine failures are a big deal, it's not unforeseen. That's another reason why Toyotas are generally reliable. You pair incredibly long production runs with conservative product decisions, and you're in business. The second-gen Tundra was in production from 2007 to 2021, so any kinks with its V8 were worked out long ago. But when the march of time forces Toyota to ditch a key technology it's used for over a decade or decades, mistakes get made. Toyota was
Research and development, guys. I mean, 2007 to 2021, that shows you how. And then now, put one out in 2 years and you're having all these problems and you thought you were doing something, you know. It's crazy.
was the last company in America using 5-speed automatic transmissions, a 33-year run, until the new generation Tacoma pickup went on sale this year. And almost immediately, the new truck began having issues with the new 8-speed automatic and 6-speed manual, including total transmission failures under 1,000 miles. Toyota issued a TSB that blames some kind of actuator failure, and you might get a new transmission out of it, but it's not a recall. Yet. Regardless, that's 2 for 2 in major new components leading to big problems. But a lightly used Tacoma from the last generation isn't a much safer bet. In February, Toyota recalled 381,000 Tacomas from the 2022 and 2023 model years over a potentially serious rear axle issue. Once again, it was an assembly flaw where debris from welding prevented key retaining nuts from being fully torqued down, which could lead to, quote, parts falling off. So, here's a theory. 2021 was the last year that the bulk of Tacomas were built at Toyota Motor Manufacturing Texas in San Antonio. Up until 2021, that plant was producing over 200,000 Tacomas a year. But for 2022 onward, it pivoted to focusing on the new Sequoia and Tundra, moving production of the old Tacoma to 2 facilities in Mexico. Those plants had already been building Tacomas for a few years, but now they were the sole suppliers. Not a stretch to think the pressure of that extra workload was a factor. Now, the new Tacoma is being built exclusively at those 2 Mexican plants. So I guess the truck that only exists because we can't import the Hilux is only available as an import.
Wow. So, what is that telling us? It's telling us that we're getting Mexico to make our vehicles and they're putting out a less than quality product. That's going to be a problem in the future, specifically because we know that a lot of Stellantis has those Mexican plants, right? They're building the Ford F-150 down there? No, I'm sorry, not the Ford. Not the Ford. They building the Dodge Rams down there. But I'm saying, they're saying that these are products that are coming out of Mexico and they're starting to be inferior products. Do we see a correlation? Inferior products, cheaper labor. Yeah.
What an incredible performance.
GR86 is the part Subaru baby Supra, and like all of Toyota's GR cars, it's designed to be thrown around corners. At least that's what they say. Its Subaru-built four-cylinder boxer engine already had a reputation for oil starvation issues in the last generation, and problems quickly popped up again when the new models went on sale in 2021. The big problem, at least as cataloged by owners because Toyota has yet to address it publicly, is, what else? Another assembly error. It looks like the factory has been over-applying the RTV liquid gasket that seals the oil pan to the engine block. And dealerships are too if the pan needs to be dropped for some service. This created a lip of excess material inside the pan, which would eventually break off, get sucked into the oil pickup, and block the flow of oil. And independent testing showed that even when that wasn't happening in the new car, the FA24 engine was still seeing a big dip in oil pressure during sustained right turns. This is kind of crazy because if you go to any track day, you will find two things: Toyobarus and right-hand turns. Last year, we interviewed a software engineer named Brian Armstrong who took his car to Thunderhill Raceway in California with special sensors hooked up and recorded real-time pressure drops of more than 50% at times. This sort of thing feels like a massive oversight on something advertised as a track toy, though plenty of people argue over whether that is actually Toyota's fault or not. It's Subaru's engine, after all, using Toyota's D4S fuel injection system. But if we're talking about Toyota reliability, it's hard to ignore what can happen when they've been farming out their sports cars to other companies. Ironically, the BMW engine Supra seems to be the only GR car in America that isn't having issues. And like I said, Toyota and its dealers have made this whole GR86 issue a lot worse with its handling of warranty claims. Back in 2022, when sales had just begun and interest in the new version was fresh, an owner named Blake Alvarado had his engine fail during normal driving with only 13,000 miles on the car. His local dealer checked his social media, found pictures of him with the car at an open track day, and denied his warranty claim, saying it had been abused. It wasn't until automotive sites like us picked up the story and it became a PR nightmare that Toyota intervened and magically found him a new engine. But in 2023, another owner named Luke had his GR86 engine fail, this time during a track day. The dealer immediately denied his warranty claim, again saying he had abused the car. Luke then appealed to Toyota itself, who also said he was out of luck. The crazy part is, Luke recorded his track day. You watch it and tell me if you see anything remotely resembling abuse. Not to mention, Toyota literally offers a free track day with the purchase of a new GR86. Like clockwork, the media picked up the story, and a month later, Toyota caved and replaced his engine under warranty. These prominent failures, plus many others reported on forums and social media, plus Toyota's terrible handling of it, all make for a really dramatic story. One that ultimately isn't directly connected to the question of Toyota reliability, but it's absolutely fed into the image that things are going in the wrong direction. Also, while I'm sure they're trying to keep a lid on it, the fact that Toyota hasn't issued a recall or even a TSB for the GR86 is not helping. I guess they've never heard of the Streisand effect. You shouldn't have to create a media frenzy to get your car repaired, but people will keep doing it as long as Toyota stays silent. The silver lining, though, is that fixing the RTV problem yourself is a pretty straightforward job, and the aftermarket is coming forward with upgrades for the oiling system overall. So with that, you'd think Toyota would be extra vigilant about isolated problems that can snowball in a big way. But its reaction to a few GR Corollas mysteriously catching fire this year has not been encouraging. In one instance, owner Brian caught the whole catastrophe on video. He was driving down the highway, heard an odd noise from the engine bay, suddenly saw smoke, and managed to stop the car just before the whole thing went up in flames. When his insurance payout didn't cover the car's full value, he filed a claim with Toyota directly for the rest of it. And shocker, Toyota denied his claim, saying he had previously abused the car by driving over 85 miles per hour, which it turns out the GR Corolla's manual forbids unless it's fitted with, quote, high-speed capability tires, or as we like to call them, literally any tire made in the last 50 years. Taking it even further, Toyota cited data retrieved from the car's connected ECU that showed he had hit 114 miles an hour at some point during his ownership. Brian countered that his 23,000-mile hot hatch randomly began running rough 2 weeks before the incident, and also, tires can't possibly be to blame for an engine fire. Another GR Corolla owner, Sebastian, was on a trip to Arizona with less than 10,000 miles on his 2024 GR when it caught fire in the middle of nowhere. At first, he said he got notifications of electrical malfunctions through the Toyota Connect app, then his dash started to go haywire, then loss of power, then smoke, then fire. With no one nearby, the car completely burned down, and apparently this was during a gap in Sebastian's insurance, so he was out of luck there. Toyota denied his claim too, this time because it said the fire was so extensive that the cause just couldn't be determined. They say 1 is happenstance, 2 is a coincidence, and 3 is a trend. But to put these two incidents in perspective, the GR Corolla only sold a little over 5,000 units in 2023. That is a drop in the bucket compared to the 360,000 new Tundras and LXs that have been sold with that twin-turbo V6 I mentioned earlier. It's a much smaller sample size, but if my math is right, we just need another 9.1 GR Corolla engine fires before Toyota steps up. On the other hand, the G16 drivetrain has been around for several years already in the GR Yaris. And while both incidents reported holes in the engine block that could have led to oil spilling out onto the hot exhaust, the causes could also be completely different. But if this is a result of a failed casting, it would almost undoubtedly lead to a recall. Then again, the GR86 experience shows that Toyota is willing to ride it out with these lower production cars. Either way, Toyota would do well to get ahead of this. Or it's looking at another enthusiast special model dogged by reliability questions that a vocal minority of owners will gladly amplify. Because come on, you don't buy a Toyota performance car because it's the fastest or the most capable, you buy it because it's supposed to work. So if Toyota trucks and Toyota performance vehicles are all having issues, what about their regular cars? Toyota built a reputation for reliability on simplicity, and it seems like these new issues are all coming from new practices, new partners, and new components. But that trend continues with their normal cars, because a little over a month ago, Toyota issued a recall for 42,000 Corolla Cross hybrids. This recall involves one of the most critical components: brakes. Apparently there was a problem with the programming of the traction control for some models built between June 1st, 2022 and September 10th, 2024. The skid control ECU had the potential to fail during braking in a corner, resulting in a hard pedal and reduced braking performance as the power assist goes out. Not great. Thankfully, no accidents have been reported. It's easy enough to fix since it's just a software issue, and only 1 out of 4 Corolla Cross hybrids sold in the US is affected.
And that's going to be a big issue that you guys are going to be dealing with when it comes to EVs, even with hybrid vehicles like the Cross and stuff like that, is that software updates are going to be a mainstay. That is why Tesla is so steadfast in making software updates, communal, to the point where, they could be sent out to your vehicle from pretty much anywhere, particularly from the dealership near you. I've seen situations where software updates will happen as you drive past dealerships like Tesla. So that's going to be an issue that they're going to have to deal with in the future as well.
But it's another mark in a growing tally. So Toyota has had a lot of high-profile recalls and incidents in the last few years that have certainly changed some people's perceptions. But has it truly affected their reliability? While recalls aren't as strong an indicator as we'd like, they are at least well tracked. According to the NHTSA, Toyota has had over 80 separate recalls, which sounds bad until you look at literally everyone else. Yeah, Toyota's looking pretty good all of a sudden, especially when you consider that they are also outselling everyone but GM in the US. And at that kind of volume, the raw numbers of Toyotas with problems can feel really high, while in reality, Toyota still sells more perfectly reliable cars than every other major company. But if that's true,
all vehicles have recalls. And that's why I always tell people not to buy the year model vehicle the year it comes out, because that vehicle's going to have recalls. Maybe it might be light recalls, maybe recalls that don't mean anything, maybe stickers or whatever. But there's going to be recalls, and you could be that person that picks up a 2024 Toyota Tundra, be driving down the road the first year they had it with like 8,000 to 9,000 miles, and the engine sees up on you. Nobody wants that.
then why does it feel like you're seeing so many more Toyota issues now than ever before? The fact that all vehicles are more complicated today is a part of it, but not a massive part. Again, recalls aren't a definitive metric, but while the annual number across the industry is up since a decade ago, recalls actually peaked in 2016 and have steadily declined since, apart from a spike in 2020. I think the real answer is that Toyota is just more under a microscope than other companies. Toyotas of the past were reliable and dependable, but also unremarkable. Ever since its whole no more boring cars mandate, the spotlight has been on them. Toyota is the largest automaker in the world, but in America at least, it's also pretty much the only company left with hugely popular models in every segment. It's just an incredibly visible brand, and with that comes scrutiny. In 2024, J.D. Power's independent study into vehicle dependability still ranks Toyota near the top, second only to Lexus. Unfortunately, that doesn't say anything about the reliability of Toyotas that are coming out of factories today, but it's a strong indicator of where they still place their values. It seems to me that Toyota might be the A+ student that has slipped to being an A- student. Their new components aren't as tried and true, and their manufacturing quality control has suffered both at their new facilities and their partner facilities. But if that's the price that we have to pay for them to build things like the GR Corolla and the last midsize truck with a manual transmission and not just build Priuses, I would take that trade. But you? Would you take more new and inventive Toyotas at the temporary cost of reliability? Or do you think they should stick to what they're good at, trends be damned? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. And as always, I'll see you in 2 weeks with another story. Thanks for watching.
Awesome stuff. The Drive, definitely a great provider of information. Yeah, definitely check him out, guys. I'm gonna see what. Check it out really quickly. Tripping. Yeah, check them out.
Your wallet sucks.
It's called The
That's
Drive.
why we invented the Ridge wallet.
Yeah, definitely check those guys out. It's called The Drive. Really good information about the latest things that's happening on with the automotive industry. And like they were saying, Toyota is still a top quality vehicle. That's why I purchased, we got some recently. And you know, it's just like you said, more eyes on them, more desire to be a more exciting vehicle. Toyota was a simple vehicle back in the day. The Corollas of the world, pretty much everybody's had a Corolla once or twice. You know, they've always put out really good trucks. Lexus is the top of the line vehicle. Everybody loves Lexus. So Toyota and Lexus has always been right there. And they'll continue to be right there, but we know that they'll be under the microscope a lot more because they're at the top, and they're going to run into more problems because just like all the other automotive industries, other automotive car makers, they're using different facilities, they're using different parts providers. And this is going to affect things. If you decide that you're going to move your factory over to Mexico, I'm not saying that the quality of the work might suffer, but we are seeing cases where the quality of the work is starting to suffer. You get into a situation where you have factories that have less employees, less workers at them, and less people doing the work, monitoring the work, making sure things are perfect. And you're going to run into these problems. Now, we hope that it doesn't end up in a situation where a whole engine is replaced like on this Toyota Tundra situation that they're in now, because that's massive. It's going to be a problem for a lot of people. Not a major problem for the mechanics at the dealerships because it's going to make them a pretty penny. Pretty easy penny too, depending on how hard it is to replace these engines. But for the consumer, the owners of those Tundras, it's just a headache, having to drop their vehicle off, having to get another vehicle to drive until their vehicle is fixed. It's an engine replacement, so you know it won't take a day or two. It's going to take a little bit of time. So it's just going to be a massive problem for the dealership and for the owner of the vehicles. And it's just par for the course. And that's why I always say, don't buy the car the year it comes out. Wait a couple years, see what it do, make sure it's a reliable vehicle, then decide to buy it. All right, my friends, I am Chris Surratt. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'm out. Peace.